Hey guys, this is Adam with See You Later Leaner, and I'm here with one of my longtime client and friends, Mandy Jones, who is our first Masters Fit Model competitor this year.
Yes, I'm so excited, very eager to take it on, and we are almost 4 weeks out.
I know it's really coming down the barrel. I wanted to start filming this a little bit earlier so we could get our friends and family and watchers introduced to you. But that's kind of what this video is. I know when the Fit Model division came out, one thing that has always excited me about you is I knew for a long time you wanted to be natural. And even at
Mhm.
competing in the higher levels of the NPC amateur ranks, you've been hanging in as a great competitor in the naturals before there was even a natural division. So we have a lot of excitement this year because first we got the introduction of the naturals. And then one thing that made me really excited was when the fit model division was announced, I saw your name in my DMs and I said, I hope she's thinking what I'm thinking because I
Yeah.
literally, you were one of the people I thought about along with Emily. And I was like, this is going to be a perfect fit for you. Tell me a bit about what fit model means to you and your excitement when the division was announced.
Yeah, I mean, when I think of what fit model means to me, it's a lot of what they describe in the fact of it's not as much extremes. I'm a mom, so it's life on the go. Prep, I will always say prep is not easy for anybody. I hate when people busy, my busy. But at the same time, the people around me have to absorb my prep a little bit. And going that lean can always bring on some extra added stress. So I was excited to kind of have more of a, I guess, balanced, if you will, prep to off season like ratio, and what that looks like to the people around me as well. In addition to what I put my body through, and kind of where we're at with a muscular level and where I felt like I could really compete and compete at a high level.
Absolutely. You've been working out for a very long time now. Tell us when your journey started in the competition world.
Yeah, it started in February 2021. But I had been strength training for sports probably since I was about 14 or 15. I played competitive basketball, ended up playing college basketball. So I always strength trained for performance and worked out for performance. So it was definitely a flip of the script of being very focused on certain body parts versus how fast a time was or how high I could jump, and endurance. It was more of like shaping the body, and that was really exciting. It brought on a new challenge for me, even though I had been an athlete in a different facet my whole life.
Absolutely. I think that was one thing that was really exciting for me about getting into bodybuilding and fitness post college because when I wasn't pole vaulting anymore, I now had something I could work for. And once college is over, unless you find like the right intramural sports, it's really hard to be competitive in something. And, you've probably found that with, competing, if you do play a basketball game, you're like in great shape for it. So it carries over to everything really, really well. You did mention prep, kind of rewinding, affecting your family. Tell me
Mhm.
how your family's been supportive through this.
Yeah, well, I'm so grateful. I have such a good support system, and I think that's led me to compete even longer than I maybe ever thought I would. Um, my husband, first of all, competed together with me our first year, and he's a former athlete, so it kind of drove us both to like find a new goal, which was super exciting, and to not only do it together. We did overlap for one show, so that was really fun. But we did also realize it was kind of hard to prep at the same time, especially when the deeper you get and the longer cardio sessions can get, and having three kids in sports and balancing who's going to the gym when. So we did start to utilize the treadmill in our basement that we always said we were getting rid of, a little bit more. It became in handy. But my husband is like just I can't even explain enough. I know sometimes that is a struggle for some people is when their their partner or their spouse is kind of wondering why. He's just simply supportive. What do you need from me? My kids love it. My daughter's actually going to come to my first show of the year with the Dave Lieberman show in Ohio and make the road trip. My son came to a show last year. Some of them are farther away, so they don't always travel. But they get so into it. They call it my muscle show. I don't know if I ever told you that. They're
You
always like,
didn't.
"When's your next muscle show?"
That's
So
cool.
it's awesome. And instead of I was always kind of worried, not worried, but just like the opinions of being a mom and people thinking like I'm forcing my kids to eat a certain way or weigh their food or be concerned about that. But also being a nutrition coach myself, it's always been a talk of how do we fuel our body? How do we bring enough in? I'm weighing it to make sure I have enough protein in this. So I'll catch them randomly like putting an apple on the scale and being like, is this good? I'm like, yep, it's great. So I got a nice compliment from a friend of mine that said like how amazing it is that you teach your kids to be disciplined for a goal. And I was like, I love that perspective of like someone who has nothing to do with this world, seeing it that way instead of seeing it in a negative connotation.
I like that you use the word discipline, and
Mhm.
somebody, as myself, known as like the nice coach in the industry. I think it's important how we choose our words and choose our
Mhm.
feedback for our clients. And discipline, I think it's a word that I struggle with, right? Because you kind of think of like being spanked as a kid when you hear discipline, right? Or something like that. But
Yeah.
I recently with clients have been just describing it as budget. We
Mhm.
really I feel like with food, people have a kind of like a thought that they can just they should be able to eat whatever they want whenever they want. And like I wish people could have that. And we do see like maybe 10% of the population who can, but
Yeah.
most of us have to budget. And,
Mhm.
being a busy mom, nutrition coach, and competitor, you're not only budgeting your nutrition, you're balancing your time and your energy and being a wife on top of it.
Hi, guys. Good morning. It is Monday, March 10th. We are just shy of 4 weeks out, and this is my typical morning. So, get up. Monday is my check in day. We are to two times a week check ins now that we're getting so close to a show. So, I will check in Friday this week as well, which will be from Florida because we're leaving on a family vacation tomorrow. As I've said before, we have 3 kids. So I'm up packing their lunches and getting coffee, of course. Took my vitamins and supplements and wellness shots in the morning that I do with collagen, antioxidants, and hyaluron. And I'm also hypothyroid, so I take my medicine and a little vitamin as well. So I'm just packing their lunches and then I'm going to get them up for school. So I'll take you guys along on a typical Monday with me.
Okay, here is breakfast every morning. My kids can attest. Is my protein oats. I got my core nutritionals protein in there. I use the whey isolate, the better oats pack, a little bit of peanut butter, and some raspberries, and good to go. Fueling for my lift.
Do you find with doing fit model, is it easier than when you did bikini, or do you feel like the challenges are roughly the same?
For your first question, I feel like the balance, I kind of try to like, I'm a very big like mindset person. I started being that way when I was in college sports and felt like I wanted to quit and I had to either figure it out or quit. And one of the things that a coach said to me back then was get out of yourself and into the team. And that really hit me because I realized a lot of times when any of us are like struggling, it's very selfish mindset. Like I'm tired, I'm stressed, I'm hungry, all that. And if I ever catch myself kind of being snippy with the kids or being snippy with Greg, I'm like, this is a me decision and they have nothing to do with it. And so, especially the kids, like they don't know why I might be crabby or why I might be tired. And so I always remind myself that this was a decision I made for myself. And so they shouldn't have to feel like the wrath of that. Granted, does it come out every now and then, when you're really hungry? But it's one of those moments where you just got to sit back and take a second. But I do find that, and I do credit this prep feeling easier, if you will, to the work I've done with you and what I've learned through reversing and bringing calories up, which was always very scary for me to bring calories up. I am hypothyroid too, so it's like something that I always get nervous. You hear the doctors in your head saying like sometimes it's hard to trim body fat, especially as you age and you're hypothyroid. But I was like, nope, Adam said we can ladder this food up. We're having a good response. And looking at our last two reverses and how high we got food, like I still can't believe it. So I think that also has allowed this prep to feel very normal,
Yeah.
to feel like we haven't had to be too, like there isn't 2 hours of cardio right now. We're not eating minimal carbs. Like I still have carbs present at every meal. But when I look at how many carbs, we got up to 300 carbs reversing into my last show of 2024. So we
Hmm.
set my body up for a really nice reverse, which in turn, as we know, sets me up for a better deficit.
Absolutely. So that's cool because your response has been it's the prep, the setup of the prep has made it easier, but not necessarily the division change. So that's
Mm-hmm.
really awesome to hear. I think some people are kind of looking at Fit Model the wrong way. So here we are interviewing you, and you have years of experience in the gym, and one of our struggles in bikini was just not being big enough, but
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
here we are having a division that I think can fit you. And one of the big things I'm really excited at the Lieberman is this is your first Fit Model show, and you also get to do it on the drug-free stage.
Yeah.
And this is only the second drug-free show for Fit Model ever. So if no one knows that, Dave Lieberman is the second to do it. And the first show that had it, it was the first debut for Fit Model. I think they only had two competitors. So
Mm-hmm.
it's been hard to get a lot of information. So I think this is really going to be awesome. I think we'll see a big turnout down there. Um, and I love that you said like it's been the setup of the prep, not necessarily
Mm-hmm.
switching the division has been
Yeah.
easier. Have there been any additional challenges though to switching from bikini to fit model?
Posing, learning that front pose. And I heard someone say it on the Zoom call. So if you guys don't know, Adam has Zoom calls for our team, which is awesome because not only can we have that check-in, but like you've said before, it's great to absorb other questions and things you may not think of when it's our time with you. And I heard another teammate talk about the front pose and how her one side of her back was hurting. I knew exactly what she was talking about. In those first couple of weeks, I kept going back to my chiropractor. I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's my posing. I know my body will adjust. It just takes time. And yeah, that like one side where you're kind of like turning the hip and tilting it back, it's sore for a couple weeks. And I know anybody that's tried new posing, I remember my first couple weeks of bikini posing, I was like in the Epsom salt bath every night. It's an adjustment on those muscles because no matter what, it's some form of like a towel twist of your body. And yeah, that front pose, I feel like all of a sudden my body's like clicking in it. So but it did take some time.
Yeah, it's definitely a struggle. I think also, there's been some changes in the suits,
Mm-hmm.
or I guess we should say some firmness on the regulations after the first show. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people got it wrong, and I believe you went ahead and ordered green, if I remember correctly. And
Yes.
when does your suit come in? Are you excited?
So that was a hiccup actually, because I was waiting because I saw the right after Emily's show, actually, the message about the suit bottoms. And I was like, oh, maybe I should wait a little bit longer, let one more show happen before, even though I saw all the companies were very considerate, sent new bottoms out. Um, but I was like, I don't know how much time I'll have. So let me wait for one more show and then order. So I did a consultation with Angel Competition Bikinis and ordered their hologram emerald. And we got to the end and they were telling me, how long it would be till my suit arrived. And I was like, my show's in 6 weeks. And so I made the mistake of waiting just a touch too long. So I basically paid the price of my suit to also get rushed production. So
Gotcha.
mistake learned. I was like, oh my gosh, I just kind of did that to myself. But my suit will be here, I think, in about 10 days. So right when we're going on family vacation on Tuesday. So pretty much when we get back, it should be here for the rest of my check-ins till the show.
Okay, guys, so I just did my 9 a.m. Zoom check-in with Coach Adam, and we are cruising. I am so excited. We had another week of weight drop, hit a new low this morning after a refeed. So got some good news from Coach as he wants me to do 3 refeeds in a row while we're on vacation, which is like perfect timing because I'm pretty sure I already mentioned we're taking them to Disney. So it's going to be a lot of walking and long days. So to have those extra carbs in there for just energy, even though I won't be doing strength training those days, is going to be huge. And I think we both have really learned my body well over the last 4 years. And when my body starts to respond really positively to a refeed, it's a sign that they're a good thing for us to keep in the mix, if not add a little bit more of them, which is what happened. So I weighed, God, what did I weigh? For context, starting this prep, I was like 152. I'm 5'8", and I weighed this morning 137.2. We're both kind of thinking 134 to 135 for my first show, for my stage weight, because we're just kind of trying to learn this new category. So we'll see how that looks. But that's like our estimate. So we're not far off at all. But with last night to this morning, I did a refeed yesterday with no training and no cardio, slept 9 hours and woke up lighter than the day prior on a lower day. So that was a good sign for us to have those refeeds in there and really utilize them to give my body a breather, because sometimes when my body gets too stressed, just like most, it starts to resist the drop and we start to just plateau or sometimes bounce back up. So we're going to keep those in and add a couple, which is good news. And I'm about to head into my home gym, Umbra, where I do all my training and get this Monday workout in. I am doing shoulders and glutes today, and we have some cardio.
And tell us a little bit about business ownership, like multi-business ownership.
Yeah.
You're a nutrition coach, and also you have a clothing brand as well, both of which are ran with your sister, correct?
Yeah, so my sister and I both did the same macronutrition mentorship with Eve Guzman, who was just, I love her. I look up to her so much. Between you and her, I feel like I have these amazing nutrition mentors to learn from. And both of you are very macro based, which is how I also do my preps. And so I tell people all the time, you can do macros for any goal, but yeah, so I run a macronutrition business called Macros with Mandy. My prep was actually what ignited it, because a lot of people were asking me about macros. I was on macros before I got started in competing. That was kind of how I set myself up after my third child for postpartum and recovering in a way where I was still felt like I was fueling myself, and just was playing with numbers on my own. And then, kept using Google way too often. So I was like, I should probably get certified in this and understand it better. And then friends and family were just kind of asking for help, and it continued to expand through my social media. So I've been a macronutrition coach since February 2022. So that's been
Nice.
awesome. I love working one-on-one with clients and all their different goals. And then my sister and I and our husbands created an athleisure brand called By Day by Night, because we live in athleisure. So it was time to just create our own that we loved, because we kept buying black leggings and none of them were fit right and we didn't like them. So it was all based around our OG black legging. And we've continued to expand that, which is on Instagram, on Shopify, and on Amazon. And we might actually have a retail space here soon in Metro Detroit.
That's so cool. We'll put some links in the description too for you guys to be able to look at the clothing. And
Yeah.
to my understanding, this has became something bigger than you thought it would be, right? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's just been incredible. I was someone who kind of came from corporate America. I used to actually work for Target Corporation. Life happened and I found myself in entrepreneurship. And I never thought it would be something I wanted, but I credit again my husband. He's just someone that is like, why not try it? See where it goes. And I'm so glad he gave me that push because just like any entrepreneurship, everything starts very small and starts very slow. But word of mouth and referrals and, the beauty of social media now and how that can help grow businesses has been incredible. And yeah, we've had our athleisure business now since, would that be, I think, June of 2022. So yeah, going on almost 3 years, which is just crazy. It's time is flying in both businesses.
That's so cool. It's awesome, now for you having two entrepreneurships, with macro coaching and doing the clothing brand. I think one thing with our listeners that I want to put out there is don't be afraid to make that first
Mhm.
step. And like, there's only so many people I can coach and so many people Mandy can coach. And people
Mhm.
really need coaches. Even coaches need coaches.
Yes.
And I'm always happy to have my coaches that work with me because they just have a really good understanding on how coaching works and
Mhm.
are very, you're really good at receiving feedback and also you'll straight up be like, this wasn't my best week if it's a bad week. And I think sometimes clients have a hard time saying that if they're not coaches. But, also in the world of clothing brand, that's a really big
Mhm.
endeavor. And it's a really big pool of other companies out there. So it's, you obviously possess the qualities that not only make you a great competitor, but also a great entrepreneur. Um, what do you think has gotten you to this point in your life? Like, has there been good mentorship, good coaches, good family upbringing? Like, what are some of the things you think has contributed to your personal success?
Honestly, I would say number one is my faith. I really found myself after I had my second pregnancy, I had a lot of ups and downs in that pregnancy and was kind of looking for something to hold on to, something to grasp in terms of positivity. And I really found it through my faith. And I think that's always allowed me to believe that there is a plan for me. There is things that even if they don't feel right away, but there's something pulling me to them to just keep trying. So that's helped in addition to mindset and knowing that there's going to be bad days, and that doesn't mean it's the end all be all. But then I guess I also definitely have to shout out my parents. They're still very, very involved in my life, even at 37. And I'm so grateful for that. They're very involved in my family's life. And they were just both such great role models. They worked to the bone when I was kids, and it was my sister and I, but we had everything we needed, that's for sure. And then made sure, even as adults, we're always okay and good with our families. And um, they're just, they made me want to be parents.
That's really cool. And you can tell like, the energy you put into your children and family. I mean, you and Greg had a really hard year last year. And
Mhm.
even through your prep, like you spent so much time being a mom and being there for your family and for your husband through everything that you were doing. So, that
Mhm.
stuff doesn't go unnoticed. And that's really cool you said faith, because that can be a great form of mentorship, that personal journey as well. And I think a lot of people sometimes forget about that.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. It's because it's something you can totally do on your own, and I think that's when it's been the most helpful is those moments in prep, those early mornings of doing cardio, or when you left the workout for the evening and you're like, why did I do that?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
those moments alone where you can grasp onto something.
So speaking of family, you've got a big trip coming up. Before we
Mhm.
close out the podcast, tell us what you're doing.
Yes, we are surprising my kids.
Oh,
We're going to DISNEY. And then we're going to stay with my parents in Florida, which I've been to my parents in Florida on prep multiple times. And I always get a little nervous. Adam knows this. And then I end up like losing weight when we're there because I think my stress levels, of not running a home and worrying about work and taking a little pause from work and just getting really good sleep on vacation and movement and fresh air, we always come back a little bit better and a little bit more refreshed. So I'm excited. Adam and I talked about taking you guys along a little bit on the trip to kind of see not only managing prep while traveling, but like Adam has said, managing being a mom with packing my food and making sure everyone else enjoys their time as well. So I'm really excited. I was already mapping out my food, but then I was like, oh, we're checking in tomorrow. So let me make a, black and white plan and adjust if needed.
that's amazing. So I'll make sure this episode doesn't release before you guys head that way. But we'll leave you guys on a little cliffhanger before Mandy goes to Florida with her
Yes,
family. I don't want to say anything too loud, but
I know, I know.
I'm really excited to share Mandy's journey to the fit model stage and the natural fit model stage, which is very exciting, and showing you guys how she navigates these next few weeks.
Yes, excited to bring you guys along.
Thank you guys.